against the rampaging spooks will be her fireball spell. The next bit of code will make a fireball shoot from her broomstick when the player presses the spacebar. Go over to the sprites and let's choose a new sprite. You can look for ball, and we're going to rename it Fireball. So right up here, it's just called Ball. We're going to rename it Fireball. Currently, it's too big, but we'll shrink it down later. So we're going to add the code to our Fireball. Each Fireball will be launched by the witch will be a clone of the sprite. So what we're going to start with is events. When I start to clone. So let's find the when I start to clone. Remember, the when I start to clone is under control. We know whens are events, but this is the one that is under control. So we're going to say when I start to clone, we want the fireball to go to where the witch is. So we're going to say go to and click on the arrow and pick witch. Now I never named the witch, it's called Sprite 1. So that's why we see Sprite 1. If I click on this and I can change the name to witch and go back to my coding for my fireball, it automatically changed it to witch. Great. So since it's going to be shooting out of the witch's broomstick, I needed to point in the direction of the witch. So I'm going to do point in direction, and I need to change this variable. So you find the variable under sensing. So I'm looking for direction, not distance, direction. You may be looking through sensing and not see direction. That's kind of annoying. Now I do see this one that has a menu choice, something of something, which is what I need, but I click here and I don't have direction. What we need to do is we need to go to variables and make the variable for direction. Now when I go back to sensing, I have the choice of direction. So I can use this sensing variable and say point in the direction, and then I want to make this of the witch. And then we want to move 20 steps. So it's like shooting out a little bit. So I'll put in move, and I'm going to make it 20 steps. This section right here makes a fireball appear at the tip of the broom and copies the direction of the witch. The next thing we're going to put in is show. We want to see the clone. So we're saying when I start to clone, go to the witch, point in the direction of the witch, move 20 steps, and then appear. This makes the clone visible while the original stays hidden. Now we want this to keep going on, so we need a repeat until, because there's a certain time it's going to repeat. It's not forever, but we want the fireball to go out, and we're going to have it repeat until it is touching the edge of our stage. So here's my touching sensor. No, this doesn't say edge, but there is the menu. So I can click and find edge. I want it to then move 10 steps. What this does here with the touching the edge is the fireball shoots off and disappears at the edge of the stage. Then we want the clone to go away. So we will say delete the clone. So it's not bouncing all over. Now we talked about changing the size of this. So we need that on the events. So whatever event you're using to start everything, you're going to use the same one. I'm using when the green flag is clicked. I want it to set its size to 10%. So it's much smaller. And then I want the original to hide. So I will go down and find hide. I don't want my direction variable to be showing, so I can go to variables and uncheck it. So now when I click on the flag, you can't see anything. Nothing's cloning, but that's what it's supposed to be. To get the fireball working, we need to add the code, more code to the witch. So make sure you're on your witch sprite. This code that we're adding to the witch creates a clone of the fireball sprite when the spacebar is pressed. The wait until block pauses the code until the spacebar is released, so only one fireball is launched for each press. So, once again, events. I'm using the same event, so I'm going to use when the green flag is clicked. I want this to happen the entire game, so I'm taking the forever block. So now I need the control of if. I need a under what condition? A conditional. So if, and we said it is when the space bar is pressed. So if key space bar, I don't have to change it. If you want to make it a different key, that's up to you. If the space bar is pressed, I want it to create a clone. So I'm going to control where all my clone stuff is. I wanted to create a clone not of myself. That would mean it would clone the witch. I wanted to create a clone of the fireball. Now, I don't want it to happen right away, so I'm going to use under control my wait until, and this does go inside the if, then wait until not. So we're basically saying not the key is pressed. So it's got to wait until that key is pressed. So I will go back to sensing and find key space pressed. So basically it's saying if it's pressed, create a clone of the fireball. Don't make another one until it's not pressed, when it's not pressed. So let's take a look and see. Without this block, the player could hold the spacebar for a constant stream of fireballs. So this is the block that makes him press, press, press instead of just holding it down. So let's see what happens. So there's my fireball coming out of my witch. And notice, I'm holding the spacebar down. It doesn't keep going. I have to press, press, press for fireballs to come out.